I'm always looking for those things in the world that we're not looking at, that I think we've decided aren't important. And I'm always trying to make a case for, look again, look more closely. This is actually more interesting than you think. My name is Katchadourian. I'm an artist, and I didn't mean to be one. I became an artist, I think, because I figured out that artist was the best umbrella term I had for all the different things I was interested in. I've always used the medium that is best suited for the idea that I want to explore. And in my practice, there are moments where sometimes I feel like a historian, sometimes I feel like a radio journalist, sometimes I feel like a sculptor. But art is a vehicle by which I can explore and comment on the world and basically start a conversation about something that I think is worthy of attention. My invitation from the Morgan was to come and explore the collection and to put objects from Morgan's collection into conversation with things that I had made.
The exhibition Uncommon Denominator is about connections. I think of it not as a sequence of objects, but as a sequence of types of connection between objects.
Saul Steinberg's drawing, in some ways, became a model for the kind of thinking and process and methodology that led to this show. One thing leads to another, and it's a kind of playing with combination and recombination and contrast or similarity. You're meant to make your way through this show guided by what you see. It's sometimes felt like playing a game. We're kind of rhyming an image with another one. The Morgan is a vast place, and it was difficult for me to actually figure out how to find my way inside. One way in for me was to do something I've often done, which is to ask not just what's here, but who's here and what do they know. And so I sat down with 15 different Morgan staff members.
Nina asked me to choose an object in our collection that I connected with and that I wanted to show. And I immediately thought of a notebook kept by the artist Beth Van Hoosen. It's a series of drawings that Van Hoosen created during a period of major depression. The object really resonated with me as a testament to someone continuing to work with a sort of persistence and a creativity that were difficult for her to access during that period. This was a very intimate interaction with both an artist and an object, and I appreciated that.
I've included a lot of personal artifacts in this show and things that I wouldn't necessarily consider artworks at all, objects that have been made by different family members. When my mother was a kid, my grandmother took a picture of my mom in a little nightgown that she had made until the year when my mom had outgrown it. And then many years later, she gave my mom this bound together accordion book of all these photographs. My grandmother was someone who made art her whole life. She didn't have a professional life as an artist, but I think you can see in this that she is thinking like an artist. But for me, certainly, it is deeply artistic, and I count this as an object that has had a formative influence on me. There are so many things that have been made by people who weren't professionally artists that I think are every bit as worthy of looking at closely as many things that we would call art in a more defined sense. And I went looking for those things at the Morgan, too. This object is an album that has had letters from Walt Whitman to his mother pasted into them. But the letters were taken out because the album itself was not considered archivally appropriate. But the album, as you can see, was also saved. And I loved that fact, that this kind of remnant of a conservation project was kept around. It's a spectacular looking object to me. It's a kind of skeleton book now. And so many objects in this show, including things I've made, have come about through processes of excision, of cutting things out. It's a process that I love and I use a lot. And so this had a connection to the larger theme of things that get saved. An operative question for me is often, what's already here and how can I use it? And I really believe there is almost always more than meets the eye and more to be done with what's already around. Since 1993, I've been working on an ongoing project that is called Sorted Books. And the rules of the game are kind of the same every time I do it. I go into a collection of books, I have to work with the books that are there. I find ways of making stacks of books where the titles read like a sentence or a story or a commentary or a riddle or a joke. It seemed mandatory at the Morgan Library to do a new installment into the Sorted Books project.
The Morgan is an institution about the history of creativity and the history of discoveries. And this whole exhibition is about more than just insight on an individual artist, but an appreciation for looking at everything around you in a creative spirit, such as the one that Nina Katchadourian brought to the collection.
There are so many situations for me where the discovery of something that's already in the world, already out there, and where all I'm doing is really making a very small quarter turn to that thing to show you something that's there, and that hopefully helps you notice that thing the next time you encounter it.